everyone. This is Jeff Cowan coming to you from Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk with my weekly podcast, Write Service and Write Your Own Paycheck, the path to making $100,000 a year writing service on any service drive in the United States of America and or Canada. I say that because 20% of the people out there right now writing service on service drives in the automotive industry across the United States of America and Canada, 20% of you are making six figures. And if you continue to come back here and listen to me, I will show you exactly how to do that. Now, I get some questions and text and whatever, so let me address the first one. The first one is, Jeff, how do we get more information about you? Well, you just go to my website at Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk, and that can be found at automotiveservicetraining.com, automotiveservicetraining.com. Find everything you'd want to know about us there. Now, you remember from the last couple of weeks, we're in the middle of a series where I said I was going to point out the 20 mistakes that I see service advisors make. You remember in the past podcast, I told you where this generated from is in my workshops that I do. We kind of go over a list very similar to this, and so several people from my last workshops really pushed me to get this out on podcast so they could share it with their coworkers, their employees, and the like, and so that's what we're doing. Now, the last 2 weeks, we've covered 5 of those mistakes. I told you we were not going to rush through this. I don't know if it's going to take us 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks to get through this list of 20, but we're going to take our time and do it right. The first week we did 4 of the mistakes. Last week we did 1. This week we're going to do 1 as well, and that's this. We find that service advisors, one of the biggest mistakes I see that they make is they don't follow the processes and steps that guarantee, yes, I said guarantee, their success. They try and reinvent what the job is. They try to do it their own way, or what I find the biggest reason people don't follow the steps and the processes is because they're lazy, okay? They're lazy. So what am I talking about here? What is a process? Well, I'm going to kind of give you a brief outline of what we teach and what I recommend, because these are the steps. And when I say that this is a mistake that service advisors make, as I read through this, you yourself might say, well, you know, I do 95% of that. I do 80% of that, or I do most of that. Well, you can't do 95%, you can't do 80%, you can't do most of it. You got to do it all. I mean, if you're going to be there, I preach this over and over and over. If you're going to be on a service drive every day for 9 to 10 hours a day, why wouldn't you want to maximize the opportunity? And I get asked all the time that question, how can I tell if I'm maximizing the opportunity? How can I tell if I'm leaving money on the table? Well, it's easy. If you were not the highest paid service advisor on your service drive last month and you left money on the table, okay? And it's probably because you're missing some of these steps. So one of the first steps of being a successful service advisor is to learn your steps. And then once you learn them and you get comfortable with them, then perfect each step. That's how you get to $100,000. So what's the steps? What's the steps here? Again, this is one of the biggest mistakes service advisors make is they don't follow a set process, okay, a set process. So what is a process? Well, first and foremost, let's assume that the customer is called in prior to coming in, they don't set up the proper expectations. They don't tell the customer what they should expect to have happen when they get there, what it is we're going to do. Like for example, we're going to walk around the car. We're going to ask you a lot of questions. They don't get them set up for how long they may have to wait. They don't get them set up for all the possibilities. They just basically schedule them in. So they don't set the expectations up before the customer gets here. And this is key. This is vital to getting sales. And we've covered that in past works. It's vital to getting sales, vital to getting survey scores and customer retention. Then when the customer gets there, the next step would be to meet and greet the customer at their vehicle. Now, I know that some of you don't have service drives and some of you are standing behind a counter and most people walk in, but at least walk out from behind your counter when they come in and walk over and shake their hand. I mean, this is a big step, and if there's any way possible, even if you don't have a service drive, get out in the parking lot if you have to and meet and greet your customers there. You know, over 20% of the places that we visit on a daily basis at Pro Talk, me and the trainers, 20% of them don't have service drives, and we teach them and show them how to get outside and meet and greet these customers. But for some reason, if your structure won't let you do that because you don't have a service drive, then at least walk out from behind your counter or your write-up area, walk over and shake their hand. But for the 80% of you people out there that have service drives, get off your butt, get in front of that desk and walk over and meet and greet that customer. And then the next step would be, after you greet them, is asking them why they came in and then going through your diagnostic questions. And you'll remember your diagnostic questions are left, right, fast, slow, and the like. But what you would learn if you came to one of my workshops or you bought that book, when you're asking these questions, it's not enough just to ask the questions about the car. You have to pay attention to how the customer's answering the questions, because if you pay attention to how they answer the question, you'll know exactly, you'll get a really good idea, I should say, of what they know about a vehicle and what they may not know about a vehicle, how they talk, and how you should talk to them, and the like. It will also help you set up more realistic expectations. After the diagnostic questions, the next step is to reassure the customer. Mr. Customer, based on the information you've given me, I want you to rest assured that once one of our expertly trained ASC certified technicians get the opportunity to get your vehicle on their lift and do a full multi-point inspection, I'm confident they'll be able to determine what's causing this concern and get it taken care of today. Reassure them. They don't do that. If you don't reassure the customer why they're in the right place talking to the right person, why would they want to get anything else from you? The next thing is walk around a car. Now, I've preached this forever. Once you greet the customer, or once you get the customer on the phone and you set the expectation, then what's going to happen when you get here? And then you meet and greet them at their vehicle. Okay, and then you ask them the diagnostic questions. After that, you're going to reassure them they're in the right place, talking to the right person, and then you're going to introduce them to the fact that you're going to do the walk around. And they should be okay with this, because on the phone the night before you told them you were going to do this. Now, I get hyper about this because today, well over 85% of the service places that I visit do not have a formal walk-around process. And guys, you're kidding yourself. It's a joke if you're not doing that. How do you expect to ever get to six figures if you won't do one of the most basic things? And during that walk-around, the next step in the process is to introduce your multi-point inspection on how you're going to not only going to do a quick inspection here, but once you get it back in your state-of-the-art facility, your expertly trained technician will do a much more detailed multi-point inspection. As you're walking around the vehicle, the next step is to point things out. And then when you get through with your walk around, you have your list of the different things that you pointed out, and now it's time to make a presentation right there on the service drive before your vehicle goes in the shop. Make a presentation and ask for the sale. Now, a lot of people push back on this. Jeff, I don't want to ask them for the money. We don't know what their primary concern is. I find it's better to point out the different things, and then when I get in the shop, then tell them what it is that caused their primary concern. Then I'll present the things I found during the walk around, and it makes it... No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're missing a big step here. You got to understand that during the walk around, and when you make your presentation on a service drive, it's the initial write-up, the average sale there is $75. And it's not that $75 isn't a big number, okay, because it is. But relative to the average car payment being $550, you ask me for an extra $75 to keep my car running between this time when I bring it in 4 or 5 months from now, it's nothing. Ask for the money there. And besides, what you're asking for during the walk around and you're making that presentation right there is going to be obvious stuff. It's stuff they see. I mean, think about it. If you point out to the customer they have no tread on their tires, okay, and they decline to get tires, but they get the primary concern taken care of. They left your service center today with their primary concern taken care of, but what do they still have? Bad tires. What do you have to drive the car? Good tires. They know that. If you're doing your walk around and you point out that they have bad belts and hoses and they decline that, but they get the primary concern taken care of later in the day, they left your service center with the primary concern taken care of, but what do they still have? Bad belts and hoses. What do they have to drive the car? Belts and hoses. They know that. It's obvious stuff. It's common sense. If you get good when you're doing your walk around, by the way, not to get too far off the point, walk around and pointing things out, you'll start to discover that halfway through your walk around, your customers will stop you and say something along the lines of, well, hey, Jeff, are you talking about those belts and hoses? Yes, sir, I am. Well, yeah, I've got to have those. What are those going to run me? About $300 or $400? Something like that. Let me go ahead and add it to the repair order. That way, when you pick up the vehicle after we get your primary concern taken care of, you won't have to worry about it because you'll be caught up on all the other things that you need. It's just that simple. And they say, I mean, they want to get these things done. Because remember from previous podcasts, they've Googled what they need before they even got here. It's in your owner's manual based on the mileage and stuff. And if you did your job right, you probably set them up for this last time they were in. So then you make the presentation, ask for the sale. After you do that and you're getting ready to wrap up the write-up, before you let them go, immediately after they sign, and they give their approval, give their autograph on what it is they agreed to do, then your next step in the process is to set them up for realistic expectations, meaning what's going to happen the rest of the day with their vehicle. You're going to give them approximate times the vehicle's going to go into the shop. You're going to give them approximate times you're going to call them. This is a big step that's missed so much it's not funny. You can't miss this step. You got to prepare your customers for what might happen, what's going to happen, or what might happen before it happens if you want them to be completely satisfied, giving you the survey, the retention, and the dollars. So you set up the realistic expectations. Then, once you wave goodbye, the next step in a decent process would be you follow up with the customer throughout the day. You call them when you say you're going to call them. The next step in the process is once you get your multi-point inspection back from your technician, is you would then get on the phone and you would present that to the customer and ask for the entire cell and get it. This is another breakdown right here. We get these people on the phone. We give them an estimate of 600, 800, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. I don't care what the number is. They say no, and we start pulling stuff off the list. That is not closing, okay? It's getting in there, presenting it, and when they give you an objection, handling the objection. That's the next step. And so many people don't do that. They don't do that. And then once the customer agrees that they want to move ahead with whatever it is you presented to them, the next step in the process would be to set the expectations for what's going to happen as the repair is getting done. How long should it take? Can you expect my telephone call? When do we expect this is going to be done? And then once you call them and tell them it's done, the next step in a good process would be to set up the expectation to what's going to happen when you get here to get your vehicle. How long is it going to take? You're going to tell them, you're going to go over the repair order and explain to them what you did. You're going to explain to them how long it's going to take to get their vehicle after they pay and your payment options. Again, setting up expectations. And then the next step in the process would be to deliver the vehicle. And when I say deliver the vehicle, literally get out from behind that counter. I don't know why you guys love these counters so much. Get out from behind that counter, stand side by side with your customer, and line by line go over what you did, why you did it, why it's a benefit to your vehicle, why it's a benefit to them, and why it benefits everybody, right? And then once doing that, you get them in their car, and the final two steps of any good process would be to follow up within 48 hours and make sure they're happy, and write a handwritten thank you note. Whew, that's a lot of stuff, right? I mean, that's a lot of steps. But the big mistake I see a lot of service advisors make is that they either don't follow one like this, they try and invent their own, or they leave steps out. I've met plenty of people that are great at greeting people, but then the deal immediately falls apart because they didn't set the customer up on the telephone before they got there. I've seen many people great at asking diagnostic questions, but then once they find out what's going on with the vehicle, then they don't walk around the vehicle and set the customer up for what's coming up. I mean, they leave these steps out, and the excuses I get for this is we don't have the time, okay, or my customers won't let me do that, or that won't work at our store, or our customers are different. And let me just tell you, I'll be as plain as I can be. That's a bunch of shit. Okay, it's a bunch of crap. It's lies that lazy people convince themselves are truth so they don't have to work as hard as they need to work. Work as hard as they need to work that will deliver them a career and an income of 6 figures. Okay, so a big mistake, I know I went on and on here, but a big mistake I see service advisors make is they either don't have a process, or if they have a process, they don't follow it, and if they follow it, they don't follow each and every step. Each and every step is there for a reason, and the reason is so that your customers are happy. Your customers give you perfect survey scores. These steps are there to entice your customer to come back. These steps are there to help you get the maximum number of sales, because by getting these steps are there so when you get the maximum number of sales, you get the maximum amount of commission, which is going to allow you to hit that 6 figures, which is going to allow you to have the lifestyle you deserve. It's a big mistake, man, that I see people making. If you're one of these people, let's get real. Let's get down. Let's get this process nailed down, and over the next several months and years, I'll take each one of these steps by step, and show you how to perfect it, Now, before I get going here, I just want to remind you, I've got some workshops coming up. You people call me all the time. I want to be the most successful I can be. I want to be the most successful I can be. I have service managers call me up all the time. I want my people to be the best. Well, sign them up for one of my workshops. I've got one coming up in Chicago, Houston, Washington, D.C. I will show them how to do all of this stuff on such a level, it will blow yours and their minds. I will put them on the path to making $100,000 a year if you send them to one of those workshops in Chicago, Houston, or Washington, D.C. You want more information about those, you just go to automotiveservicetraining.com, automotiveservicetraining.com, and you can find information there, or you can buy this book, Write Service and Write Your Own Paycheck, and everything I'm talking about is right there. I mean, what are you waiting on, folks? What are you waiting on? Nobody's going to give you this. You have to earn it, and you earn it by following a process and following each and every step. Hey, woo! Man, my name's Jeff Cowan. I'm coming to you from Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk with my weekly podcast called Write Service, Write Your Own Paycheck, the path to making $100,000 a year on service drives. If that's what you want to do, keep listening to me. And better yet, you want to get serious about it and do it really fast, come to one of my workshops. But between now and next week, here's what I want you to do. Get out from behind your desk, go out and greet as many customers as you can. You walk around those cars, you point things out, you ask those diagnostic questions, you get those closes, you get that commission, you get those survey scores, that retention, and live the life that you so deserve because, between now and next week, that's exactly what I'm going to do, folks. I love this life, and I love you, and I thank you for coming and keep coming back, okay? See you next week. Bye.